this 6th episode, why we are feeling this, as you said, realness, intensity, but really is it just a kind of more realness, you know? Is everybody just taking more of their social masks off? You know, the social etiquette that you came out of that was to conform and not show any dissent, because historically that was met by violence, depending on your culture, your upbringing, and also the times. The times they got away with murder, right? They got away with things because there was no cameras. There was no recourse. There was very little recourse for, you know, ordinary people, the folks. So sometimes, you know, we talk about finding our voice. We talk about being able to be in the moment. And usually when you leave a situation and you are going over it and over it and over it and over it in your head, it's usually because you weren't present in the moment, or you couldn't maybe believe what you were hearing. Or maybe you just didn't give yourself permission to say what you really wanted to say. And now people are giving themselves that permission, but sometimes it comes across attacking. And sometimes you do want to say what you really feel. But sometimes, again, you have to discern, because people have selective memory. Right? There's a selective memory in the masses that's you know, I don't know what you're talking about. And that can be very much in families of your experience that you had growing up. Hi, Magic. So you can hold grudges, and you can hold on to things, and you can hold on to pain, but sometimes people have no memory of it. Sometimes people have moved on. And you have to look at ways in which, you know, is this something I'm clinging to? Or even having that awareness of, oh, this is such a trigger for me. Why is this triggering me so much? You know, a really good fun, because it's a muscle, right? It's practice. You know, sometimes going to a gallery or, you know, an art show or an art gallery, a museum, and looking at things and noticing your response to them. I don't like that painting. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I wonder what this is triggering for me about this painting, about this piece of art, about this song. And when you start to notice what it is, you can start to excavate that. Even anxiety. Oh, I have anxiety. I have anxiety around this. I wonder. First, I think before the wondering, I think you have to notice where your anxiety is coming from. And what it is about that situation that might be a pattern of situations, you know, could be social anxiety, going to events, going to parties, standing up in public, to talk, to speak. Even in noticing in business, when you have a great idea and you sit there mute, being in your head, and then you label it anxiety. I have anxiety, so I can't do that. Well, I find that quite sad. Because you can say I have anxiety, obviously, that I'm not sharing my ideas, but I wonder what the source of that is. Because then I can dissolve it and I can collapse it. And then I'm going to be able to share my ideas and be able to receive feedback. But if I'm constantly just labeling everything and running away, you know, actors know this. You know, I was working with someone this week who, you know, for a decade had avoided going to auditions. And had been able to justify that avoidance, had been able to create a narrative around the reasons why that was going to get him nowhere. But thank God, thank the universe, that he realized he was treading water and he was kind of all out of gas. And when we started to look a little bit deeper at his experience when he first came here, we were able to see the nervousness, the anxiety, the trauma, the experience he had that then had started to dictate the avoidance for the next 10 years. Now, if I had pointed that out years ago, I would have got teeth. Because when someone isn't ready to look at certain things, they will do everything in their power to blame me or others. Because they're not quite ready. And it can be very damaging. So we're in a culture now that people don't want to tell you anything, even if it's going to benefit you, even if it's going to expand you, even if it's going to make you a better actor, a better performer, a better human, a better anything. No one's going to give you feedback. So you have to notice your patterns. You're going to have to notice where you have your blind spots. You know, someone had said here, Michelle had said about not rocking the boat. Right? Not rocking the boat can come from a traumatic childhood of keeping the peace, not setting everybody off, being agreeable, being a fawner, being a people pleaser at your own detriment. Now someone has said about procrastination. Really? Procrastination? I mean, there's so many workshops on procrastination. That's also part of the procrastination, doing more workshops on how to analyze procrastination. It's a paradox. Procrastination is avoidance. And when you start to dig a little deeper into your avoidance, you will find where the source code is. You know, people ask me a lot about what should I tap on. It's not that simple. There is an art form to unpacking. There is an art form to be able to gently pry open those can of worms that someone doesn't want to open. And sometimes no amount of self-tapping, dynamic tapping, will get to the core issue because it needs a wingman. Because we're now going into dangerous territory. We're now going into core vulnerability. But it's easier than you think when you start to do your inventory of life. Just your life, not everybody else's life. Although right now it's all about comparison and, you know, the narrative of others. Being obsessed, being fixated. And focus and concentration in yoga is an entire limb. Oh, thank you, George. George said, things always shift in miraculous ways when I tap with you in a session or workshop. And I'll tell you the reason for that is because we go into stream of consciousness. And something comes through from spiritual conscious energy that holds you in a place where you're able to look at it. That you're able to be in the vulnerability. And even, you know, many years ago, I made a decision only to do my workshops in Pause and Joy. Because when someone doesn't know what they're coming to, it triggers them. Because we're going into the work wanting to know where our triggers are. If it doesn't trigger us, then what are we tapping on? If it's not causing some kind of disruption, if we're not feeling that angst, then, you know, we're gaslighting ourselves. If I'm only choosing to do things that are comfortable, that can also be procrastinating going into the uncomfortable, where actually the shift is. I think it's Carl Jung that said, you know, you have to go do the shadow work. And people talk about shadow work. They read about shadow work, but true shadow work is terrifying. That's what the film It is about. The Stephen King novel. That 27 years later, It, the scary clown, knows what your triggers are, knows what your secrets are, what the thing inside of you that is unresolved. And it will bring it up. It will scare you. But that's not unlike life. Life will always take you to opportunities where you will hit a roadblock because of something unresolved for you to excavate. Now, I'm Pause and Joy, so we create the circuitry in the system to be able to enjoy saying, someone's on here that I worked with yesterday that was like, oh my God, ding, 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 we got the jackpot, that's it. But to maybe someone else hearing what we were doing yesterday, they might shut down from it because it's too much, too quick, too soon. But you have to also look at how many books can you read on healing and excavating and doing your inventory and listening to podcasts to not get into your inventory of life. And this is where we're at as a planet. We're all being forced into a retreat the last 2 years, last 3 years, to go into our self-inventory so that we can be better humans with one another. But we also go into getting distracted by judging other people. Because sometimes, gathering more information is also procrastination rather than action. Knowing what I need to do, but I'm just not doing it. And the thing is, no one's going to tell you now. Because people don't want the blowback. You have to say enough is enough to yourself. You have to ask, why am I conforming to whether it be society, whether it be your family, whether it be your partner, whether it be, and especially the parents out there who are constantly, I see right now, in comparison. As a species, we are really coming out of an old system that was using violent tactics to keep us in tow, to keep us in line. Feudal systems, communities, all of these old systems to take your ideas, whether that be the music industry, whether that had been the film industry, whether that had been old patents back in the day. With Edison, he held all the patents, but he had all these innovators working for him. People are starting to go into singularity and starting to have the confidence to confide in oneself, to say, you know what, this might take me a little bit longer, but I'm going to start to own and be the master of my masters. Even young innovators, if you're listening to this, thinking, oh, I'm going to create this amazing company, but then, once I get offered 20 million, I'm out, and it just goes into the shadow banking system. But it really needs you in the helm as a person of integrity that has to steer that ship. And these things can be tricky. But there's a great opportunity now for everyone to really start to go into innovation and start to go into invention and start to, with open source, and really kind of follow their own gut. But also know their sacred no's. You know when to say no. Thank you, but no. I'm going to say yes to me. And I think this is the thing that came up a few weeks ago, which having this no frills, being quite frank with people, which is also another word for being real. And knowing when people want you to do work with them, but you really want to do your own thing. And that's okay. But knowing it might upset a friend who wants you to do something together because they might be a little bit insecure about doing their own thing. Or maybe want to be part of your thing. But you have to kind of be really frank in your choices when you're a creative. And not even just a creative. I think everybody's a creative. Even a creative in your own life. Being the artist of your own life. Is this something that I enjoy? Not enjoy as in a pleasure seeking from the outside, but does it feel in alignment? Does it feel that I'm using my time here in a way that feels correct for me? Not what everybody else is doing, what's calling me. I'm really starting to polish that, starting to polish the knowing part of you that guides you through all of that. And sometimes that people wouldn't know why. Why are you saying no? Why? Just because it just doesn't, it's not speaking to me. It's not calling me. It doesn't have to be confrontational. It doesn't have to have reasons. I don't want to do it with you because you're doing this. And you're analyzing the person and judging the person and all sorts of things. It can be vague. Sometimes things are just a feeling. You don't sit there when you're looking at houses and give reasons to your real estate agent, all the reasons why you don't want to buy it. Each one you go and see. It's a feeling. And not a feeling as it's a tuning in. But that takes a lot of silence and quietness. And it takes a training of the eye. And what's happening now with social media is our eyes are overstimulated. We have too much retinal stimulation that we're finding it difficult to focus on our own stuff, our own calling, our own purpose, and that comes in the silent whispers. It comes in the inner whisper. But you have to tune in. And there's a lot that comes with that. When you start to get that tuning and you start doing it and you start to get the naysayers and the hecklers, and that's just your family. Or it's your friends. And you can be like, oh, why are they like that? Let me analyze them. They're just jealous. They're this. And that's a whole rigmarole. Because they are. It doesn't matter. Why your best friend of 20 years isn't celebrating you doing your thing because you're bringing up their shit. That's why. And it doesn't mean that you have to fall out with them either. You might just need to take a hiatus. You might need to just, focus on what's true for you and go that way. But it's and they might come around. They might be like, oh, I felt, you know, that you were, feel like I was being left behind and yada yada. And okay. Sometimes things don't need confrontation. And you need to really, because confrontation takes a lot of energy. Because when it's time to be in confrontation, you'll need that energy. Because as I said, people have amnesia. No, I always believed in you. I always thought you, right? And then the grudges happen and the resentment happens, and it's so consuming energetically. Someone's saying that marriage feels like a constant confrontation. Maybe it's just your marriage. Maybe let's just not generalize. Or maybe right now, because of what has happened in the last few years, that has been a constant. They're laughing. It has been a lot of confrontation. It has been a lot of friction. I would say that people that you are committed to, I think you need to be very, very frank with one another, and you have to tell people that you have to make sure people know that you have their back, but there has to be a safe place for you both to be in a frankness, in a realness, in a space that intimacy. It's the place that I'm in with my students, are people that I have worked with and work with, where we go into a place where people say to me, I haven't said this to anyone in 20 years, or I have never told this to anyone. And that is a very sacred space for me. I feel the privilege of that. But I also know I have developed that energetic field that people know they can tell me or go where they need to go, and I'm not going to check out, or I'm going to, oh, that's just too much. So there is a feeling that I'm going to go in there with you, and I'm not going, they know they're not going to get analysed. I'm like, just say it. Because I think everybody feels analysed. People are so frightened to say how they truly feel sometimes. But sometimes saying it, oh, you know what, I'm really frightened to start my own business. Are you? Am I really frightened? Ask yourself, whatever it is, am I really frightened to go there? I'm just maybe not practice at it. I don't know what I'm doing. But I can start to ask some questions to people that do know or have done it. So our words around things can be very telling. Noticing. Even noticing what you're jealous of. Because maybe there's a part of that jealousy that is judging what people are doing with their money, say. And if you had it, how you would spend it. That's good. That's good to know. So now go get it. Go get it. Go create a company. Go create something that does it your way, rather than all the ways you don't like how your boss is doing stuff, or how another company is treating its employees, or how other people teach or do a sound bath or do meditation. Okay, now we know what you don't like. How would you do it differently and go put yourself out there doing it your way and throw your hat in the ring? Our opinions can sometimes be procrastination. And delay. But just noticing sometimes who inflames you. When I leave that meeting, I feel drained. Someone I was working with this week realized that the job that they were in was not the environment for them. It was actually shutting them down, and it was, just not doing anything fulfilling. And it was driving this person crazy because they felt they were wasting their time. But not just wasting their time, they were wasting their skills that they have in a place that was just trying to invent problems so that they could fix them. And there is a lot of that in business. And they wanted to work in a place where they were more looking for solutions and going into action. But rather than blaming the company for the environment, realizing it's you and wondering what is a better environment for yourself. Now that can even be around people, right? That could even be, but that you have to even watch that, right? Take a yoga class, how you're only ever going to the teachers that you like, right? Because they don't challenge you, they don't push you. Because if we're constantly doing what we're like, sometimes it's not sharpening our blade. And what we like can be so changeable, right? There's many of you that have done yoga, or you work out, or you know that you like it this way, and I hate it when I do pigeon pose, or I hate it when I have to run up hills, and I hate it when this. And it's not that you hate it, it's just that you're not good at it. Yet. That's a very important part of this. Because when you start to be able to get into it and you start to become better at it, you start to love the challenge of it and the feeling of getting deeper into it. Because then without it, it just feels as if that was just, nothing. And life is a little like that. It's like people who are always gambling. Sometimes they should gamble in life rather than in a casino. Because gambling is gambling. Taking a risk on yourself is exciting. It's also challenging. It's also nerve-wracking. But what did you come here to do? Be sedative? And it's about being able to be in the fear and enjoy it. and the challenges and enjoy it. Be in it. You know, when my father took depression severely, clinical depression, and I was there for the whole period at his worst, there was something in those moments that was very, very real. And it was very raw. And it made me know my father in ways that wasn't just superficial about his life, about his story, about what he was going through, about being helpless to help him. But I also knew there was a very special energy in the moment, and that I knew I shouldn't check out from it. And I had to learn to check in through my practice so that I didn't go offline through the moments that were very visceral. So when I talk about pause and enjoy, easier than you think, it is a practice. And sometimes we just need to take some deep breaths and be like, I'm safe, I can do this, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know, I'm clueless. But that is also your kind of humility. Or wondering, how am I going to get through this? Because I know I will. Because I've done it before. Or I've seen people get through it. That's what AA is all about. Going and seeing people doing shares. Looking at people with their stories of just depths of despair and living under freeways and all sorts of tales that they tell about their life, but in a place where they can see it in a kind of helicopter way. They can see the whole thing and say, but I'm here and I got through it, and you can get through that too. And sometimes that's why we are watching people and listening to podcasts of people who have overcome. And notice what podcasts that you're attracted to. And notice and then wonder, wow, what is it in me that I'm trying to shift or give myself permission to do like them? It can be very insightful. But then once you start doing it, you start to think to yourself, oh my God, why did I wait so long? That's the other side of it. What took me so long to do this, Patty? What took me so long to look? How did I, when, then it's now a waste of 20 years or 10 years, rather than the compassion that it took you 10 years to even look at it, and you even have the blessing to be able to look at it. Other people aren't there yet. So when you are looking at all this comparison that is online right now that I'm seeing, it is a way that it takes you out of your joy. But also the comparison of other people going through more difficult things, like when we're looking at Iran right now. And just being in awe for them and saying your prayers or sending energy or support, whatever way you're doing it. because you might not be able to imagine what that must be like of when we don't conform or go into dissent, we're met with violence. But we also know it's in our DNA because our ancestors suffered it. And that's why people, you know, don't say anything, toe the line. Because they were met with that violence. And it's in the West, we when we see it, we become jarred by it. But we're getting better. It just, we're not used to seeing it so often. But it is dismantling. And in that dismantling, you have to always come back to center of what is it that you're here to bring forward. What can you fixate on that is yours, not in comparison of others? Looking at your practice, how can I get deeper in my own practice rather than listening to other people's practices and then being like, oh, I don't have a practice, I'm not good at that like them. That's really what a whole 60, 90 minutes of yoga is about. It's not about a few poses on Instagram. It's about doing a 60, 90 minute class. Staying on your mat. Not comparing yourself to anybody in the room. Who can I compete against? Who's my mark? Who am I better than? And if you can train yourself throughout the day to catch that, you'll be less neurotic. And be more at peace. I hope this helps. It's easier than you think. You know, just noticing billboards. What are they wanting you to buy? What are they wanting you to feel? Why am I always watching crime stories? What am I trying to analyze? What am I trying to figure out? There is this balance in life of what do I need to be aware of, but what do I need to be unaware of so that I can go on with my life? What is significant and what is insignificant? Because sometimes those two can be a little lopsided. Sometimes we give the power to things that are just constructs. And one person challenging it can dismantle. I mean, look at Monsanto. When was the last time you heard about that company? Because of that one man that took them to court. He was dying of cancer. Because it's a dirty word now. They're rebranding. So let's see what you... Over these next few weeks, we have eclipse season coming in. And we want to just be kind of less about out there and seeing what we can eclipse in our own life. What's eclipsing for us right now? We have a solar eclipse at the new moon, and we have a lunar eclipse in November. So eclipse seasons can be really, really transformative for ourselves. But just steer your canoe away from the drama. I know it's really interesting and it's fun, but it's also exhausting. Energetically draining. There's a leakage there. So I hope that's helpful. Good to see you all. It's been a beat. I'll pop on this week as well. I'm going to also talk about some menopause stuff. So, good to see you. Love you lots. And I'll post this later. Put some comments and let me know what I should call it. Because it was kind of all-encompassing, kind of vague, but very much of what's happening right now and what's going to be happening until the end of the year, I believe. I feel. And then 2023 is going to be a very different energy. There's a lot of toppling coming. Toppling. Things that are just no longer sustainable. Like our own BS sometimes. That's not sustainable. That affects your own system and inflames your own system. And also what's not sustainable in the world. So we're in a place of great change as individuals and as a collective. So it's good. But maybe that's what we call it, this one. Recognizing the unsustainable in ourselves. Sometimes you have to look at your own inflammation. Someone has said they need help cooling inflammation. Sometimes it's about recognizing what is inflaming you emotionally. Noticing what it is. Excavating what it is. Being frank with yourself at what it is. But that's your own timing. You know, the people that know me know that I always say that people have to be cooked all the way through before they'll look. That enough is enough moment. That I'm done with this. I'm over it, right? It's just a ding, ready, fully cooked, yeah. But until that, I'm not the person that you want. I'm not the person that you want to come to, because you want to delay the narrative. You want to delay the change. You want to delay the action that you have to take. You want to delay the information that you're going to have to stomach. I'm not the person you want on your radar. And the people who are on this live will be a testament to that. I am not the person that you want to bring I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why. Because people come to me to know why, or they already know why, they just don't want to look at it alone. Or they want to excavate together of looking at all of the patterns and almost kind of doing some kind of reconnaissance. Okay, this is the mission. These are the patterns. This is the topography of my life. This is what has happened. And I am always there. What do we need to shift? Doesn't matter if I don't like it, what you're about to say. And that takes a lot of guts. That's why you need a energetic probiotic. It takes a lot of guts, and it takes a lot of divine timing, and it takes a knowing that you're ready. But some people just want to be tourists in their healing journey. Or tourists in their life. But more and more people are waking up to, yeah, no, I want a bigger part to play. I want to be the main character. I want to be the star of my own life. Doing me, being even the parts of me that I don't even know yet. But I know it's in there somewhere. So, good seeing you all. Love ya. Take care.